Welcome all. We will hold off here. I hope you're having a great day. We are live, and we're going to give it just a couple minutes here as we start to flow in. But we are here today with some special guests. This is a really fun one for us today, and I'll walk you through it. There's going to be a lot of sales conversations that we're having today and about setting up the structure and how to sell. And I was challenging these two gentlemen here on the sales side of it, questioning, and all of a sudden they proved me wrong very quickly. I will tell you that. They know how to sell. They know how to help build relationships. They know how to help you get in front of more agents. This is a partnership that AIME was very excited to roll out. Just especially with my background coming from retail, like I did, one of the biggest things for us was past clients. It really was. I keep talking about it. You guys are probably sick of me talking about it, but I'm not going to stop. We are losing that battle as mortgage brokers. That's what the data indicates. These guys have a tool for you to make life easier. Our friends at myHomeIQ, Gavin and Steven. How you doing today, gentlemen?
Great.
Pretty
Happy to be
good.
here.
Yeah, thanks for
You
having
guys.
us.
No, thank you for coming. Obviously, lots of conversation, lots of talk, but please fill us in. My Home IQ, before we get into the meat and potatoes, what is it about?
So my home IQ is definitely about staying top of mind from your past clients. A lot of the people I've talked to over the last 10, 12 years have focused so much on building that database, right? Top of funnel. And then once it goes down, it kind of disappears. So what we've tried to do is implement a system that creates an environment where you become more of a financial advisor to your past clients versus just, hey, here's what the rate's going to do this month or this week. Like they can turn on the news and figure that out themselves, like no offense. What we try to do is figure out a way to give them rapport and equity and how that translates to the investment they've already made, right? And then, of course, on top of that, figure out a way to leverage technology and, of course, AI in order to recruit new agents and figure out new business and even something we've launched, live buyers walking into properties for sale. So, I feel like when I get a high level question of what it is we do, we're essentially a lot of different things put together that you're familiar with all under one umbrella. Very easy to use. And, the automation alone should be, more than enough horsepower to drive conversations going into 2025.
What are your thoughts on automation? We get this question so often now for mortgage brokers alike, where what's AI going to do? What's automation like? Why is it going to be impactful? Why is it going to be important? You're looking at data all day long, especially all the data that you all have. I'm looking at data constantly. And what you're seeing is efficiencies, right, being increased when it comes to automation. But what do you think it means to mortgage brokers to actually finally have access to automation that we haven't had for years? I spent so long in retail. When I came to the broker space, I thought we would get all the stuff I had. We didn't. There's so many pieces that we're missing. And now that gap is closing so fast. But what's the data indicate around automation and business growth?
Yeah, Gavin has a good stat in terms of return business that I wanted to highlight, and then I want to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole on that question because there's a lot of moving parts. Gavin, if you
Yeah,
could share that.
I think data-driven decisions are the best ones you can make. And that's kind of what we do at Home IQ is try and help empower loan officers and real estate agents to make just better data-driven decisions. If it's from the reports you're sending to a homeowner, they see the data that's important to them, important to their home. They're able to make decisions about potentially the largest purchase that they've ever made, right? So if we can empower the broker, the solo loan officer with powerful tools that other big guys have, that's where we win, right? Where we're able to put that in their hands. They could leverage these tools to help keep the relationship. We're not in the transaction game, we're in the relationship game. And the person who could maintain those relationships, keep those relationships, deepen them, and have something meaningful where you're not sending them sports calendars or generic holiday cards. You could give them something that's unique to their property and positions you as an authority figure, let you know what you're doing. That's where we are happy, and that's what we look to do.
I
And
agree wholeheartedly with that. Sorry, Stephen, go ahead. We saying
yeah,
something?
no, if I could piggyback off that,
Please.
right? So that automation is so key, but God, I mean, again, year after year, every loan officer I talk to is, oh, it's just dripping, it's taking care of itself. Well, now you're waiting to become reactive, which I understand because you're day to day, you're grindy, but like, what about the proactive? If you're planting those seeds, at what point have you set benchmark dates or a cadence or KPI or flow to go in and introduce the human element? Okay. If they've been receiving it and you have an open rate of 70, 80%, why haven't you picked up the phone and be like, hey, what do you love about it? What are your thoughts on it? What do you not like? What questions do you have? The difference between the relationship with real estate agents and a loan officer are very different, right? Real estate agents have you in the back seat of their car. They have the rapport. Maybe you've broken bread and have coffee. Loan officers are typically remote now. And so you don't have this like face-to-face, genuine, human element that we used to have even pre-COVID, right? So if you're able to leverage data and introduce that persona, the personality, the care, the compassion that goes into, like Gavin said, closing the biggest decision of your life, you're going to win when you pick up the phone next year and already have talked to them 3, 4, 5 times to line up a refi versus 6 months later, like, hey, your name is Jonathan, right? Do you remember me? I'm your loan officer. Well, hey, guess what? You qualify for a refi. Let's talk. You have kids now? Don't care.
You do. No, you're
It happened.
so spot on, because like there is that part of it that doesn't make sense. Like, yes, the drip's fine, the automation's fine, but then there's that component on like, when do you actually call? When do you build? When do you open up the door and start facilitating the rapport? That's the biggest part. We are becoming so much more relationship driven as a society when it comes to business. We didn't have this before, right? 20, 30 years ago, you can't hide anything anymore. You really can't. So if you can show them, like, what does the consumer see? Can you showcase a little bit of the reporting? And then I really want to dive into the sales. And Steven, something you mentioned earlier, the realtor situation, like how to talk to agents and drum up new business. It was so good. Like as you know, I still originate. I'm still writing loans. I'm still in the trenches. And his approach on it is fantastic. But I want you to see a glimpse of what you're actually getting. So walk us through this.
Yeah, before I dive into the report, and I'll let Steven speak on that. But like you mentioned, data and analytics, how important it is. You just want your data or your tools that you're using for someone to raise their hand, right? What is that indicator that's going to say, hey, when should I reach out? What should I do? What approach should I take? So that's what we've built in some of these tools, is how do we leverage data to kind of analyze your business, let you know what's going on in the background or what's happening in your client's life, so that you could just be there when they're ready to make a life change or a move. But I'll let Steven kind of walk through the report as you see it, because this is what the homeowner is going to receive from the loan officer or agent every single month.
Yeah, and some of you might have seen certain reports that look similar to this, right? It's by design. Like, what are we really leveraging here? That, again, not just what the rate's doing and what the Fed. That's what the news is for. How does it impact them? So, of course, we have estimated equity in the home, a home evaluation, which, by the way, having worked for Zillow for many, many years, it's not going to be 100% perfect, but it is a catalyst for a conversation. And if they are picking up the phone and saying, hey, is my home really worth this? Like, is that high, low? Well, what's their motivation behind that, right? So you can tweak that and have it dialed in as pretty close as we can get. So if you go ahead and scroll down a little bit more, Gavin, if they want to sell their home, do a cash out refi or equity line of credit, you go behind the scenes and introduce any margins or rates or commissions or anything that are going to feed into the report. So it's conducive and specific, not just to what you're offering them, but of course, what they're paying. And this goes out monthly and will continue to update monthly. Go ahead and keep going down. We'll blast through this.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, the alerts are going back to the LOs, right? In terms of what the client.
Yeah, great question. Yeah. So not only is our open rate about 80%, the engagement rate is a little bit above 70%, and they will get an email real time.
This is a fake account, but yeah.
Yeah, this is our demo account. We don't like to divulge private information. Yeah.
Don't be taking snapshots and things.
Yeah. So you will get alerted real time, even if they're not asking a question, if they're modifying loan information, estimating things or playing with their calculator. There's that trigger, right? Call them. Hey, what's going on? I saw you're playing with this. What do you like about it? Go ahead and keep going down. Okay. Shows what they've paid towards principal and towards interest. If they want to spend a little bit more, pay it off a little bit sooner. Yeah, toggle that. Let's keep blasting through this. Boom. So let's pause here. Jonathan and I talked about this. Refi in 2025. This is hopefully what we've all been waiting for it. I mean, I feel like the last 2 months, like what's been happening? Why aren't we there yet, right? The election's over. Hopefully it starts to trickle down. Well, because we have the rate that they're currently paying and we cross-reference it with the national rate that we're fed weekly, this will automatically show them and you if they are overpaying and qualify for the refi. So here's what I want to pause. This is what I want a lot of loan officers to focus on going on next year. And if you've funded loans in the last, 18 months to 24 months, not the best rate, but a lot of those times they were just forced to make that transaction. So if you're planting these kind of seeds and leveraging this kind of data and being the educator to them of like, hey, the rate's maybe not super sexy today, but 3, 4 months, like I want to make sure we're keeping track of it. How would you like me to communicate with you via text? I can send you a snapshot of this, right? So taking that little nugget and really hitting home with them, nurturing it. So again, when it's ready to pop, we don't just call them with a surprise phone call and maybe they've gone with another loan officer. Because the percentage of conversion for revisiting business, Jonathan, I mean, you were just telling us at the beginning of the call.
Oh,
You tell me.
yeah,
With
for those that don't know, so I spent 6 years in retail, and I was at Rocket Mortgage and learned a lot, from that side of it. And one of the things that was different for me coming to this side of it is mortgage brokers from a data standpoint. Like this, I know there's a general statement, but the truth of the matter is data, and we talked about data driven, results. So one of the things that Rocket talked about a lot was past clients, and then if you look at their earnings report that just came out for Q3, they talk about all the refis they did over like 20,000 refinances. Of those, 85% were from their book of business.
Ooh.
85% were from their book of business. Yet I cannot tell you how many times I talk to brokers and they say, well, I'll get there. I have a nurture campaign. I have a drip. I have this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you're not going to be fast enough if you're not thinking about the automation, if you're not thinking about having the right technology stack, and you're not thinking about actually picking up the phone and talking to them and knowing what to talk about. These are those opportunities that bridge that gap. The only time mortgage brokers have lost market share in the last decade during COVID because of refi boom. That's the only time, because the refis were being won by retail. We have to stop losing that battle. And this is what we're talking about, the psychology of human beings. Sorry, guys. You got me so passionate about
go
this.
yeah,
for it.
fire
Let's
it, fire
go.
away. Yeah.
You're talking about the
Helping us
psychology of
up.
humans. You're literally they're telling you there's an 80% open rate. Client's going to look at this, 80%. You can see what they click on. For some reason, they're sitting on one area. If they're sitting on that area, there's a reason for it. It's on us as sales professionals to make that call, because the client's thinking the refi is going to be long. Oh God, about this. How many documents? That's their thought. Your job is to explain to them why that's not. If they're looking at this, it's for a reason. What's going on? I have a business venture. We racked up more debt than we thought we were going to rack up. Life has changed. I just had my third kid. Life has changed. I need to renovate. I need to do construction. I can't get approved for a personal loan. I can't do this. These are the opportunities, but it's on you to actually execute. 85% client retention of past clients. Think about that. 85. How many of your past clients have you written or you think you will write? 85% is a big number. Even if we can get to 50%, that grows market share. Sorry. It's just, This is so good.
No, I actually want to challenge the audience who's on right now and say, drop in the chat if you know your 2024 conversion percentage on past clients. And I want to see who's top here. Most importantly, I want to see who actually is tracking those.
I have to open up their chat ability. If
I used to tell
we can pause for Q&A. I'll revisit that.
Yeah, we can, and I'll open up the chat over here. So
I used to tell my team that I managed, right? Like, you have an obligation. If you're a professional and you know your industry, you know your space, your clients are going to make moves. They're going to make changes. They're going to refinance. They're going to do these things because life events happen. And if you are the best person to take care of them, if you have that ownership and that conviction, you're obligated to reach out to your database. You're obligated to be like, hey, I'm the pro. I'm the best person who's going to guide you, educate you, feed you exactly what you need, and take care of you. And that's kind of that relationship game, because if you're in that game of farmer mode where you plant those seeds versus constantly hunting for new business, and that's why these tools were created, you're able to then have that conviction to be like, hey, when someone clicks one of these blocks inside HomeIQ and you get that alert, that's where you want to jump on and be that trusted advisor to the client and really share with them and be like, hey, what's going on? Lean in. What's happening in your life? What are you looking to do? What are you trying to accomplish?
Right.
And really understand where they're at in their life and what they're trying to achieve, so you could be that resource for them. But yeah, I think you nailed it, Jonathan.
So chat is open now. Gavin, you're spot on. And Steven, I would love to, if you're good with it, I would love to get your approach on this sale when you are calling a client on this specific part of it, and just to kind of showcase to the audience your ability to kind of hone in and out of these conversations. And what would it sound like for a loan officer that's a bit nervous? Hey, Jonathon, I've never done this before. I hear what you're saying, John, but I've never done it. And I do have a little bit of anxiousness about it. I don't want to feel too salesy, John. I don't want to feel like I'm itching for business, even though, John, it's been tough and I do want business. How do I go about that conversation? So what is your approach on this call when you're making it to the client?
Yeah, and that's something I alluded to earlier, right? If you're calling them for the first time in 9 years since you funded their loan, that's extremely uncomfortable. They probably don't remember you, either because you worked for a bank or whatever the case, right? Like, that's a tough call. Now, we can role play that call, but in order to solve for that issue, you should have that frequent human connection with them a couple times a year. When I was coaching agents at Zillow and loan officers, we would focus on making sure that everybody in their database was touched at least once per year. Now, that's a very doable thing, whether it's an ISA, like whatever the case, at least one human touch point, how to make sure you call them. So that call, if you're doing it right? Let's talk about 2025 here, look at the future, and you've been dripping them, whether it's with us or something else. Hey, the holidays are coming up. Hey, 2025 is crazy. We just financed a couple years on your loan. And Jonathan, look, you might have forgotten who I am, but Steven, I want you to make sure that you're seeing this report I'm sending out to you, and I'm staying in front of you, and you don't look at me as someone who's just trying to get a refi out of you. So, what are you doing for the holidays? Do you have any expectations of maybe refinancing because your loan's a little high? And I remember when we first talked, you had to move because you had a death in the family, and I'm sorry for that. That was tough for you. Do you remember? Yeah, sure, I remember. Okay, well, hey, I'm going to be calling you because I think, based on my 15 years of experience, we can probably save you $500 or $600. I know that funerals are costly, and I want to make sure that, when I call you back, you don't feel like I'm just trying to get a refi out of you, and it's going to be crazy because you've never refinanced, right? This is your first purchase. Yeah, this is my first purchase. Well, cool. Well, hey, look, I've done this a million times. I want to make this as easy as it can be for you because what you've gone through is already hard enough. The last thing I want to do is introduce more stress into that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send it, check in. Do you prefer text? Do you prefer email? Because I think based on our forecasts, probably the next 4 months should be a good time to start having this conversation for real. So, you call me if you have any questions between now and then, but I'm going to follow up with you every month. And if I see a rate go crazy and drop low, are you comfortable with me just giving you a call and making sure I'm staying in front of you and doing my job? I mean,
you're opening that door. You know what it is? So one,
is that hard?
Can't tell his voice, right? Obviously, he's got a smooth operator voice coming in here. We were joking about it earlier. You're also making it's a conversation, right? Hey, happy holidays. It's a conversation. You're bringing up the past. Here's what we did the last time. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. You're showcasing the empathy. You're also not afraid to ask. And that's the biggest thing I believe loan officers are missing right now. We are making the assumption for clients. And that is such a terrible path to go down because you don't know what someone's dealing with. Anyone's life here changed over the last 12 months, 6 months, 18 months, drastically. Your clients are going through the same thing. So to just make an assumption that they don't need help is such a detriment to that client. And we would always call to check in. How you doing? What's going on? Oh my God, this happened. Client's credit score dropped because of X, Y, and Z. The last hope that they have is a cash out refi. You know how many loans I've done for clients that were looking for personal loans, got denied because they missed a credit card payment. Their credit score dropped. They thought they're dead in the water, can't do anything. All of a sudden I call them, I get a hold of them, and they're just borderline qualifying for an FHA cash out to actually get something done. It's been absurd how many times I've done it. And these are loans that I've looked at where people said, well, John, I did conventional for them. It's not going to make sense to do FHA. How do you know? How do you know? These are the opportunities that allow you to open that door. And this is how you start building and becoming a professional. You're thinking about them. They're on your radar. You're getting the data. You're getting the reports. You now add this into your calendar as something that you do every day, every year. Your book of business gets built. It grows. It skyrockets. And that door starts to open. Hey, I know you keep looking at that reporting. We love that you're looking at it. How does it feel that you've gained $50,000 in equity?
Yeah, create excitement.
12 months.
Awesome.
How does that feel?
Yeah, 100%.
How easy is that? And now, Steven, question for you on the realtor side, before I go down that path, or Gavin, whichever one wants to take it. how is this an easy way to incorporate conversations when it comes to real estate agents?
So when you're searching intelligence for a real estate agent, right? We go back 5 years. We're going to show you transactional history. We're going to show you listings that they lost, which sometimes people are like, doesn't that kind of suck to bring up? I'm like, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Good. You should stir the pot, right? They sold a home to the buyer and then the buyer did not list their home with them. Like, what happened? Figuring out gaps in the business is almost just as equally important as figuring out new top of funnel, right? Hey, was that not in Follow Up Boss or Boomtown or a mailer? Like, I can send you a list of 14 people I'm looking at right now, which translates to $220,000 of GCI that didn't relist with you. Now, I know what you're going to say, two or three of those people you never wanted to work with again. Okay, who cares? But like the people that we can solve for, let's figure out a way to not have that happen moving forward so we don't lose what we've worked on all that time. You can search Oleg, Gavin. Okay, so that's
I'm
one.
I'm just showing them the capability, but
Yeah, sure. And so, two, we also have an algorithm that we feed into AI with about 100 data points that forecast the likelihood of homeowners selling in the next 12 months. Over the last 4 years, it's on a 0 to 100 scale percentage. When it's 80% or higher, they actually transacted 72% of the time, right? So I'm searching for an agent. Here you go. Oleg happens to be pretty good with not losing his listings. But if you're trying to do something like court a new agent in 2025, which Jonathan and I were talking about this, it's very hard, whether you're a new loan officer or even, 5, 10 years, to open the door to new realtor experiences and partnerships. Why? Because the amount of transactions is down. It's a huge risk handing you new business when they've been working with Jill for 15 years. Like, you have no good say. Like, I close with integrity and on time. Like, who cares? Everyone says that. You did your job. There's nothing special or tangible or leverageable in value. However, if you flip the script and say, hey, Jonathan, I know you get a lot of calls from, loan officers trying to run your business. I have a list right now. I just did some research. There's 12 people. I can send this to you, right, and just start naming them. All of these people relisted recently, and you sold them their initial home. Like, what happened? Oh, they did? What? Okay. That's an easy conversation to have. Then we pivot that with, hey, first of all, this is free to you as the agent. Let me take care of this. Let me show you that I can give you something to fill the holes in your business. More importantly, AI is such a hot topic word, but we've had AI for 4 years now. My AI engine can give you predictive analytics on listings. When you accept this invite, myHomeIQ will walk you through. I can't regurgitate all this for you, but they have people who do it all for free. You upload your database, we'll stay in front of you. They'll take care of it. Why don't we focus on, once they actually accept it, there's 15 people who are almost 80% likely to move in the next 12 months. Okay. 15. That's not canvassing a zip code. That's not, a neighborhood that's going to cost you thousands of dollars. Why don't we just talk about either picking up the phone and talking to those people, but also sending them a mailer or an equity report. So we're staying in front of them. So when the time comes, we've done the work, we've planted the seed. When you've essentially focused on a sniper approach with quality over quantity. And I think that's what a lot of people miss out on all the time is they play the numbers game, as you should. Please do. I'm a firm believer in playing the numbers game dials. I mean, I can go down metrics, KPIs, just like you. I've worked with thousands and thousands of agents. Oh my God, right? It's all the gray hairs from that. But like,
Me too.
any objection I get when people are like, I don't want another system. I'm like, you don't have to. The automation alone, whether it's us or not, should be taking care of your return on investment. But if you're not nurturing it and watering it or understanding how to work smarter, not harder, I know cliches, that is like have 5 more conversations per month that'll generate 2 more loans in the next 6 months. That's not hard to do. So accountability matters. And I get sick and tired when people are like, oh, I have so much work. I'm so busy. No, you're not. I'm looking at your production. You funded 5 loans in the last 9 months. Like, no offense. I used to work with billion-dollar offices who had in-house lenders, who had operations. They're dialed in. Things will inevitably fall through the cracks. But like, if you can't break down every transaction, every touch point, all these things that software now does for you, you're losing. You're missing out. And it's unacceptable because you've worked for 10, 15, 20 years to build that. Why don't you have them coming back to you the same way you did, Jonathan, which that conversion is crazy.
I mean, it was
Pat on your back, but my God.
my conversion. Yeah, no, I won't lie. It was, but I was so crazy about it when I came into the broker space because I worked so hard. You know, when I was in retail, I was refi only leads and all this. When I came to the broker space, I said personally, like, I'm not doing leads. So I built agents in a network. I worked so hard to bring that client in. Like, I'm not going to lose it. And I also knew in the back of my head, the likelihood of me losing it was high because I was in retail and I was the guy telling everybody to get on the phones. Nobody move. No one do this. No one do that. We got to make sure, we're dialed in. So I have to stay in front of it. It was a really big deal for me. And that's why I was very big on my conversion. Mallory asked a question, and I am curious too, because even from the last time I talked to you guys, you've added so much more to this, and the UI UX was very clean. So whoever that is, please shout out to them. I understand the intricacies, how difficult that is to make something flow with all that data. But where did this come from? Like, how did this idea come to life?
I have to give a lot of credit to Gavin there. Gavin, you take that away.
So obviously we were in this chair doing production, just like all y'all, and not really satisfied with some of the tools that were out there. I managed a large team that were in the trenches producing, and I had the luxury of looking at all the data that was coming through the different platforms. And what I noticed is the agents and loan officers that paid attention to their clients, that marketed their business and put their brand out there with something of value, were getting more business than the people were not. And we started actually as a lead generation company, believe it or not. We were just building leads, doing Facebook leads for agents and lenders. And the agents and lenders weren't calling the leads. They weren't following up. They weren't dripping on them. They're like, oh, these leads aren't working. So we're like, okay, let's solve this problem. Let's build a system that they could set and forget, that this is just going to drip on their leads, drip on their database, and have those people raise their hand when they have a need. And I was very lazy when it came to technology. I like the anti-CRM. If I got to go update something or go click on something, it just ain't going to happen, right? So we need something I could just put the database in, set it up one time, and it kind of just goes automatically. And then I just jump in as a loan officer agent. When someone raises their hand, emails me, calls me, I'll jump in and do my thing. That way I could focus on working in the business, as you have to do, while the system's working on the business to generate those things. And that's what we want to build, is kind of an ecosystem for a loan officer so that they have tools that are out there helping them, whether that is with lead generation and evaluation tools on their website, whether that's social media posts, whether that's an automated report to your homeowners and past clients. We're trying to think of all the things that I would want if I was a high producing loan officer agent, and then build those tools, put it in the market, get feedback, iterate on it, all of that stuff pretty rapidly.
First of all, that's a lot, right? Like, taking all that in and then building something from that, because the idea piece is the easiest piece, the execution's the hardest, as I'm sure you're
100%.
aware at this point. To grow. But one of the areas I always love bringing up when it comes to our vendors is, look, we both know this. There are certain times that there's pain points. Where do you think, or where do you see, what's the data indicate when an LO isn't getting the results they want? But where are you seeing them dropping the ball, where it's like, hey, the best LOs, the ones that get the most success, here's what they're doing, that the ones that aren't seeing success, and here's what the ones that aren't seeing success are doing. So what's the data say on that?
Yeah, take a little bit of that too, Gavin.
Yeah, sure.
I love it. Sorry.
I mean, like you said, it's all about execution and activity, right? So like, some of that is the fear of that loan officer not reaching out. I haven't talked to this person in 4 years, or like Steven mentioned, I haven't done my job to keep in touch with them. So they have a little bit of that fear of marketing. And I just say, get rid of that fear. Geico does not care how many times they see 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. You got to put your business out there. Your family, your livelihood, your income depends on it. So use something that's going to put out there that offers value. I didn't like some of the marketing tools that were generic, right? That were kind of bland. I wanted something that was like, hey, if I'm a financial planner and I'm managing someone's largest asset and financial decisions, how do I position myself as a professional in that space? What can I give the clients that sets me apart from other people in the industry? And that's what we did here. So if you do get an indication, like for example, this new active buyer trigger that we put on here, that kind of, not to go in the weeds of how the technology works, but it indicates who's going into an open home, who's looking at properties, who's having buying signals based on their activity so that you could reach out to them. A lot of that is having that human touch that Steven talked about so well, of just positioning yourself so you can reach out to the clients when they have that need, Steven.
When I was at New Orleans Fuse, right, Jonathan's where we last chatted. I had a lot, like the majority of clients who came up to myHomeIQ, who are our current clients. Hey, I love you guys. It's great. Okay. I had zero complaints, to be complete. I would tell you, a couple of people didn't like it. That happens with every company. But I was like, well, that's awesome. What have you been excited about? All those monthly reports that go out. My agent or my homeowners love it. I'm like, cool. And I'm like getting ready for the big question, right? Like, how many deals have you closed? I closed like 3 or 4. Awesome. What about, and then I went through the list of all the other things that we offer them for free that is already live. Oh yeah, no, I had no idea. When was the last time you logged in? It's probably been, I'm like, be honest, 4 or 5 months. Okay. Okay. So I'm through my coaching hat back on. I said, let's re-onboard you for sure. We have a lot of new stuff that you're already is live. To answer your question, Jonathan, was who's more successful? The people who immerse themselves in the ecosystems that they're paying for. I guarantee there's a good chunk of loan officers on this call who have 2, 3 CRMs, this campaign, that campaign, and they're not working or they're not working it. So consolidation is key. But when I coach and I tell you, hey, be careful what you consolidate, because my personal rule, if something's doubling your investment year over year, and of course you're tracking it, right? Like, I'm probably not getting rid of that. Now, if there's crazy redundancies and the client's getting, HomeBot and myHomeIQ, like there has to be a way to trim fat. But the fact that we have, Gavin just mentioned, things like active buyer, where literally if people are walking into properties for sale that are marked for sale on the MLS or open house, and you're being alerted within a day that they're doing that, and you're not calling them or figuring out a way to tag team with an agent, we're like, don't be creepy and be like, hey, do you have an open house this weekend? Did they have paninis? Paninis? Like, no.
Yeah.
But again, kind of coming back to the beginning, right? If they did that and you have had conversations with them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you've earned the right to make that call and to just have it come up organically. Like, hey, just once again, wanted to call. How was your weekend? Wait, you did what? What are the odds? Right? Like, boom. And that's why the follow up in tandem with the automation, to answer your question, is key. Automation's cool. It's easy. People are lazy in this industry. Agents, loan officers, hey, we all have to have accountability, right? But like, if you have in tandem introduced, again, the human element, the passion, the just, hey, keep it casual. Like, what do you want from me? Cool. Like, I'm here to serve you. If not, no worries, man. You have no risk of picking up that phone, figuring out with good data that they went to an open house, and then letting it come up organically and asking for the business. Or now you have a buyer/listing lead for one of your agent partners. It doesn't get hotter than that as a lead. When they're shopping, even out of state, you're being notified. Like, that's the technology we're moving into. And if you're not ahead of it, you're losing.
Gabby, can you, because I have something on that too, but Gabby, can you pull up, like, how do they, the open house, right? How that works, but also how do they upload all this stuff?
Yeah, no worries. So the easiest way when we onboard any user, we're going to get their list, right? So if they have a CSV file of their past production, we'll just get that list and upload it straight in there. And then you could just add a homeowner directly from the platform as you close. We are working on some integrations with other tools that are in the market. So connecting LOSs and other platforms directly into the system here. For your first question.
Also, piggyback on that too. We have Zapier, which zaps new files once they close directly into the system. So the first step, again, we onboard you, we walk you through. Everyone freaks out. There's a new tech stack. Like we handhold onboard 30, 60, 90-day check-ins, but it's as easy as a CSV file. Okay. Property address, first name, last name, email. That is required. That's it. We can usually fill in data gaps. Ideally, loan amount, duration of loan, date that the loan was funded, and that would help get you more data, right? But it's that simple, and the plugins are easy, and we set it up so new files coming in, they're automatically updated. And then, of course, we have landing pages, which I don't want to go feature heavy here, to generate new business and stuff, but the core product absolutely should be the years of work you've put in, staying top of mind.
So Arlisha asked a question. She said, Arlisha said, how is it different from HomeBot? Which is this used in addition, or is it used as a replacement? Like, what is your thought? Let's not from HomeBot's perspective, obviously more so talking about your differences and what you guys are providing is the angle I'd like to take here, if you know where I'm going. But what is the differences that you guys see?
I can take that one.
Or
So Alicia,
that you've seen, but the people that have potentially switched over, like what are they saying about the differences?
people have definitely switched over.
I figured. I
I don't like to say bad things about HomeBot. It's a great platform.
no.
You know, I used to work at Credible and help run the agent loan officer partner division, and we used to recommend them all the time because they are solid at what they do. Gavin and I worked for a company together that integrated HomeBot into the system. So the best way to answer that without going feature heavy, and obviously we can meet Alicia one-on-one, more features, less money. The things you love about HomeBot, we have things essentially MMI, HomeBot, Redder, list reports kind of all rolled into one for less money is the easiest way to answer that question. That's what we do. Right. Plain and simple.
Thank you for keeping it as core. I appreciate
high
you.
level. Yeah.
No, I thank you. It's hard.
If Gavin has to add to that, feel free.
The best tool is the one you use, right?
Exactly.
So like whatever tool set you're using, as long as you're using and adopting it is where it's at. And HomeBot's great. And other platforms, are out there that are awesome and do good things. We're just trying to build a whole ecosystem. I hated using 7 different pieces of technology to kind of manage my business, where I have to log into this for this thing and log into this for this thing. So I'm planning on building a whole ecosystem that can run your business. And some of the people are going to be power users, and some people are going to use just this one feature or widget inside their business. But honestly, like the best tool is the one you use for sure.
Again, so I'll give you the calendar link here at the end to schedule potential meetings. We'll get more questions coming in on that side of it. But you can go through that, have your conversations. These guys are awesome, as you can see, and there's just a wealth of knowledge just between them, especially when it comes to, it's not about the sale is, yes, there's always a sale component. Let's just call it what it is, right? Like it's just the reality of it. There's a sale to everything. The biggest difference to what you guys are really emphasizing is the ease of use and the actual ability to implement this into your business at a snap of a finger. That to me is a really big deal for us as loan officers, because what we can't have, sometimes you get into technology and you have to click on 43 things to upload something. You have to, you don't know where to find a report. You don't know how to escalate something. It's just impossible, right? You got all these tabs, all these buttons, all these different things to click, all these different columns. For me, it's the adoption of how easy this is and how simple it is to get in front of people. The execution piece at the end of the day is absolutely on the loan officer, right? This tool, we're going to guide, we're going to help, we're going to tell you, hey, you got to do this. You should do this. You should do this. But if you're not doing it yourself, you're going to put yourself in a predicament regardless of what you're signing up with. But these guys are very dialed in. They listen a lot. They create feedback loops constantly, and they're implementing all the time, and they handle situations very fast and on the fly. One of the things I want to talk about with the agents, I want to go back on that. I work with a lot of very high level agents here in Michigan, and you are spot on, Steven. You said it earlier. It is not easy to get in front of agents, especially as a newer loan officer, because imagine that they've been working with me for 5 years. It's going to be hard to want to do that, like to replace. It's going to be hard for you to just jump in. But if you go in with real data to them and you say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, wonderful job. My name's so-and-so, doesn't matter what it is, right? Here's the case. So look, I'm calling. Yes, I'm a lender, and I already know you're working with a lender. I'm not here to step on any toes. I'm just very data driven, which I think you're going to see is different than most lenders. And here's what I'm curious about. Last year, I have in front of me that you did roughly 63 buy-side transactions. Does that sound right? What that does right away, one of two things is going to happen. Number one, they're going to say, no, that's wrong. I did more. Oh, well, thank you for that. I'm going to give feedback to my tech team. Thank God. I thought you were doing great at 63. This is amazing. You're doing more than that. Or they're going to say, oh, that's off completely. I did less than that. Oh, all right. Well, let's figure this out. How many did you end up doing? Whatever it is, from there, I'm pivoting it away. Well, I have this data. I have this technology that I leverage. It's free to real estate agents. And here's what I'm looking at. Of the 63 transactions you've done, did you know 15 of them have actually already bought a new house and they didn't use you? I'm just curious if you knew that. What are you talking about? Well, I have this address here. I have this address here. I have this address here. Does those all sound like the houses you did? Yeah, well, they closed their loans about 2 months ago. So I'm just curious, does your lender currently track this stuff for you? Well, look, I'd love the opportunity. At the end of the day, I'm really simple. I'm not here to step on toes. I'm here to earn. I know I'm not given anything. I know you're not going to give me nothing. So here's what I'd love to earn. I'd love to earn the ability to be your number two, because every Bugs Bunny has a Daffy Duck and every Michael Jordan has a Scottie Pippen. And I don't mind being either of them because they both had great careers. Ha 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 ha. Take 15 minutes with you so I can demo and show you this technology, because I can pull it up right now. You see that flow of conversation? You see what it is. Like, I'm just ready for the objection. You already know they have a lender they're working with. You call it out, call it out, call it out, call it out, and then hit them with data, hit them with stats. You have a fine amount of time, very finite amount of time to get the agent excited, because they're getting calls left and right from lenders. What are you doing? How fast? I know you already work with a lender. I'm not here to step on toes. Number one. Number two, it looks like you closed X amount. That's a pedestal. I'm putting you on a pedestal. Number three, you know you missed X amount of opportunities. So calling out the obvious, I'm creating excitement and putting them on a pedestal, and then I'm giving them the candy. All in that order, very quickly. You literally have 2 minutes or less to do it. How good are you, and do you think you can practice enough to make it happen? You now can have the ability to practice as often as you want with tools like this, because you can type in any agent in your area and you're going to get that data. So imagine you have the chance to practice this every single day. Put it in your calendar. You plan on Sunday. You pick the agents you want. You make the phone calls, even if you want to do one a day. You do that for an entire month. You get 20 business days out of this. And think about the traction. You mean to tell me with the data that you're given and you practicing, you can't get one agent to send you one opportunity? I know you're better than that. And you know you're better than that. But it's all about, like they said, how are you using this? Sorry, I really wanted to just drive that home.
No, it's perfect.
It's free, by the way.
Leaving out one big element too, which is perfect. Lost. Hey, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I want to be number two. Also, once you partner with me, I will be able to forecast listings over the next 12 months through AI. And it's, by the way, 72% accurate over the last 4 years of this company's data. So do you want some listing leads? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that NAR settlement. Of course you do.
I didn't think, like, add that to the repertoire.
Like, it's so easy. And that alone.
Coaching you're getting, right? And this is where it's like, hey, how can I do more? Here's what my calls look like. Record your call. Schedule a meeting with the team again. Hey, here's what I did. What could I add more? What did I miss? What features did I miss? Coach, get trained, leverage the tools around you.
There's something that's super cool. Yeah, no, it's perfect. Jonathon, you're very good at doing this because you've had those years of experience, right? We talked about there's like discomfort with a lot of people who don't have the confidence and like passion to get it. We have webinars that we offer for all of our loan officers twice a week. And we even, I've had people talk to me and be like, hey, I want to present this to an office of agents. How do I do it? I said, well, do you think you can regurgitate this entire platform having used it for a week? They're like, no. I said, well, guess what? We'll come in and have a guest speaker speak on behalf of you. There is no added cost. Our gentleman, Chris, who's in charge of our agent success team, is awesome. He's been working on decades with talking to agents. Like, we'll do it all for you. There is no cost. We know that you will win once you play that numbers game and leverage their database, leverage the data. We have that all covered. It doesn't cost an extra dime. But like, if you're not asking or you're not being proactive on having those conversations, what are you doing? You're just spending money again every month.
And that's what I love. Like, that's not what you want, because that leads to an upset person. You're like, you need to be proactive. We'll help you be proactive. So we're closing up out here, and I'll post the link here. But any final thoughts from the two of you on this? And then I want to give my final thoughts and post a link on my end here, because there's something special here.
Go ahead, Steven.
Oh, no, of course, just appreciate the opportunity to be here. And sorry for all the, I think the frustration and passion, but I think, for everyone here, and I'm sure there's rock stars on this call, it just comes from like, we've seen it, we've built it. A lot of loan officers don't understand as much as the back end and tech side. And it's like, hey, we know your jobs are difficult. We know you're stressed right now. We know there's so many variables you cannot control day to day, month to month, year to year, quarter to quarter. We get it. But focusing on what you can control with automation is great and is probably going to give you low-hanging fruit. But if you really want to turn it up next year, go figure out a system, whether it's us or not, where you're going to hold yourself accountable. Make the extra couple of text and phone calls per day. Be the human being that closed the transaction. You were probably really nice to them when you were closing that file and asking, wow, you have great hair today, right? Like, what happened to that? Your realtors still do it. Why don't you? Go figure out a way to use the data and work smarter, not harder, because we have it. And you need to just focus on holding yourself accountable to use it. If you don't, please don't even bother to schedule a demo if you're not going to use it. I don't want to talk to you.
I love that.
Yeah, I just want to add that, we want to be just like you guys want to be a resource to your clients. We want to be your tech partner when it comes to helping you run your business. And I just would encourage something that Steven alluded to is like, you could control your inputs. You can't control your outputs, right? Your outputs come from the inputs that you put in. And if you want a successful 2025, you need to take action now, today, while you have time, while the market is still not, where it's going to correct or have a turnaround point. You need to start preparing for that now, so that 3 months from now, 6 months from now, all the work that you're doing today starts paying off and rewarding you on that behavior. So I appreciate you guys letting us come on, share a little bit. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this encourages you guys on some ideas or things that you could do inside your business. So appreciate it. Thanks, Jonathon.
I end every meeting with every agent and every lender I've ever met with. You're the biggest variable in this whole equation of tech and everything that will dictate your success. Don't ever forget that.
I thank you both very much for doing this. Thank you for demoing. Thank you for being honest too, and transparent the way you guys are, not selling and just talking about the product and not bashing other people. I really appreciate that a lot. One thing for the group out there, as an LO, somebody that's doing this and in the trenches, one of the things I've learned is over the last couple of years is to stop being too excited about the market, right? The market's going to dip. I've stopped because I've been punched in the face, as I'm sure some of you have over the last 24 months, about all the shifts and rates. All I'm doing it now is basing it off this. It's risk and data. The data indicates what it indicates for 2025. If you're not prepared, it's on you. It's not been easy. Every single opportunity truly does count. So even if you can get one additional refi, one additional agent that you pick up, one additional opportunity, one additional purchase, it's worth it. But it starts now, and it starts with action. It starts with activity. It starts with planning. And now is the time to start planning to get ready. Just don't miss an opportunity. I cannot tell you how many people I talk to that have told me, I wish I worked harder during COVID. I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have made an extra call. I wish I would have done that extra refinance. I wish. Stop wishing. Make it a reality. Have infrastructure. Stop guessing. Stop assuming you can do it without help. You can't. It's impossible. As much as I want to not have to delegate and think I can do all of this and make all the decisions, I can't. I've become much more effective delegating, leveraging technology, leveraging data, leveraging metrics, and making decisions the best way I can. But the most important thing that I do is I plan like you would not believe. And I'm the type of human being that wants to be proactive, not reactive. What kind of human are you? I appreciate you all. Have yourselves a beautiful, wonderful day. Take care of yourselves.
Appreciate you. Thanks for everyone who attended. Cheers.